Hey, how's it going? Welcome back to the Shoveit podcast. Today I want to talk about the topic of comparison is the thief of joy. If you've ever heard that phrase thrown around, I've heard other versions of it like comparison kills creativity, things like that. Now, it's definitely a problem that I have, and it really affects my ability to do a lot of stuff, but only for myself for some reason. So I want to talk a little bit about that topic. I want to talk a little bit about progression. I want to talk about this sort of self-creative critique that you might be experiencing like me. Let's look at this topic in a little bit more detail.
Yeah, you better.
I started this podcast as a means to create on a regular basis. That was the point of it for me. It was a way for me to start moving the gears and wheels, is that to say it, for my own creative project, which is the Shoveit thing. Now, it's been in the pipeline. It's been my creative magnetic north for forever. It's sort of been the thing that's always sort of guided me. And I never really, I don't know, I always felt like I would eventually get around to it. And I've never fucking really done much with it, apart from just potter with it constantly for years. Now, for about 20 years, I've worked in the creative industry as a photographer, a designer, a video maker. And I spend all my time creating stuff for other people, for other businesses, for brands, for tourist boards, things like that, right? So my day in, day out, my professional career is shooting and editing and creating for other people. So it's very tricky to then be able to turn on yourself and I guess execute your own creative ideas. When I used to work in Belfast City Centre, I was doing daily Instagram stories and I used it as an escape. So you were working a 9-to-5 job, you had set hours, I had time before and after and during at lunch. And Instagram stories launched and I sort of just jumped on that and started treating it like a daily vlog, and it was class. And I just kept making them every single day. And as I did it, they got more and more convoluted, more, technical. I started editing more, bringing music in, all that sort of stuff. Like, this is early days before a lot of other people were doing it. And I could never get my head into the horizontal world because it felt too permanent. And I got a bunch of friends that do YouTube stuff, and they would constantly say to me, the effort you're putting into Instagram stories, you'd be better off putting into YouTube videos. I used to get constantly told, what's the point? Why are you bothering doing Instagram stories? Why are you bothering doing vertical video? And this is by people who are pretty big name YouTubers now. And a lot of those people spend a lot of their time producing vertical videos now on Reels, all right? So a lot of these people that were telling me this now put a lot of time into vertical videos. So definitely ahead of the curve in that, but I didn't even know it. So I was sitting in this like confusing world of, I don't know whether I should commit to this. Should I do the YouTube thing? I quite like the idea of YouTube, but I could never put the ideas into action because they felt too permanent. So I stuck doing Instagram stories. And then eventually, after years of doing them every single day without skipping any days, I stopped. And a friend of mine, Ryan, had once asked me, why bother doing them every day? Why are you so committed to doing them every day? And I was like, it's purely just like progress. It's just, if I don't upload tomorrow, then I'll not upload the next day. And then I'll just fucking stop uploading videos entirely. And then I'll not do anything. And he didn't really understand that. It took me a while to really believe what I was even saying there. And I think in the last few years, as I've sort of tapered off a lot of the content I want to create, I've realized that, I feed heavily off progress. So the constantly making, creating, that when I stop doing it, I lose enthusiasm to keep doing it. But I constantly want to do it, but I've just lost the drive to get up and do it, which is a tricky thing to deal with. So when you're sitting in that sort of frame of mind and you're looking around, you're seeing people, and then you end up doing what we're all used to doing now, doom scrolling, which you get onto the internet and social media and you see what other people are doing with no real picture or idea of what they're going through or what it took for them to produce that. All you see is the output, the success, right? And then immediately I get stuck in this comparison of like, fuck, I'm not doing enough. Should I be doing this? Should I be doing that? How should I be creating? What should I be creating? And then we end up in this comparison bullshit, which further hampers my ability to progress And then the cycle just loops itself. It feeds itself its own shit, and then just doesn't get anywhere. It's infuriating. It's absolutely infuriating. But it only seems to affect me on my own creative projects and endeavors. When I go and meet clients and I sit down and talk about what they want to do, it's all very simple. It's all very easy to understand. Like, I know what their goals are. I know what I think they should be doing. We talk about all their ideas and products and work out there. And all that makes total sense. But the minute I flip that and turn it on me, I can't fucking do it. And it's always been a tricky thing. And I think if you're a creative person sitting out there, you probably know the feeling. If you speak to a designer, I would say one of the hardest things to do is design your own logo. And I feel like sometimes as a creative person, making your own content like that when you do it all the time for a living is very tricky. One thing that is really made that whole sphere harder to deal with, from my perspective, and let me know if in the comments or message me on Instagram if you've thought about this at all. But there's a large influx of people now in this sphere: photo, video, design. No, I don't even know if design gets as much, but definitely photo and video gets it. There's a large spectrum of people who have jumped into this world from a very, very functional point of view. So people that maybe worked in other creative industries or no creative industries at all, and have come into it purely from a teaching point of view. And they've come into it from a gear point of view or a tutorial point of view. And there's a lot of that sort of stuff going around now. And I definitely feel like I get sucked into that world. I feel like I look at those people who are making tutorials, how to do this, how to do that, or 5 things you need, or whatever that is. I look at that stuff and I go, fuck, should I be making that? And for some reason, my brain keeps sucking me into that sphere. And every time I sit down and try to do a video that's like that, I fucking hate it. I hate the process so much. Nothing bores me more than talking about gear or processes or tutorials for the sake of it. I don't mind talking about it if it's a byproduct. I like gear. not drug gear. I've never really done much drug gear, but camera gear. I like it. I need it. I use it for stuff. But it's also, I'm not into this world for the gear. The gear is just the shit that I use to make the stuff. I'm not really, there's a lot of people that are very into that, like gear nerds, people who are really into the technical side of it, and they've got an interest in that side of stuff. And the problem is their interest or their hobby that they then start talking about is also the medium in which I exist as a professional person. So I see these people who, maybe don't have qualifications in a creative industry, don't really have any professional experience working in a creative industry, come from a completely different industry altogether. And they're putting out videos that look fucking awesome. They look great. They are unbelievably crisp looking. They're so well lit. The sound and audio is impeccable. All of it looks great. And I'm going, well, fuck me tonight. So first problem there is I align to that because I go, okay, that's the benchmark or the angle or whatever that is, right? So you follow that little bit. It takes you a little while to work this out. And then you look at it and you go, hold on a fucking second. These dudes, they might do YouTube, for example, for a living now talking about gear, but that's before this shit, a lot of them didn't do any of this stuff. And what they have done is niche down. What they have done is ask questions and work out a solution. And then they've used the medium to sell the medium in a way. And we've got to this place where teachers and salesmen are like online heroes in a way. And this is not really a criticism to any of them. I don't really care what they do, but it fucks my brain up because I look at it wrong and I compare myself to the wrong thing. And I'm not one of those people that likes making those sorts of videos. So why do I keep magnetizing myself? Is that a phrase? Why do I keep attaching myself to that world? I don't know what it is. I keep delving down that route. And I think it's because every now and then I'll do a video where I talk about a piece of gear or a technique purely because I found it quite interesting. I might be out taking some photos and be like, hey, look, there's a thing on your camera or there's an attachment you can use for this and this is how I use it. And then someone goes, class, love that. And people respond to that immediately. Oh, I really, really like that. And then you get hit that with that dopamine response feeling where, oh, someone engaged or liked that was useful. And then that word value that everyone throws around comes up, and then the cycle of confusion starts again. So when you want to do something that's just a little bit, I don't even want to say different, because we're not doing anything different here. We're just doing stuff that inspires me, things that I enjoy. I like making videos or taking photos or designing stuff that I like. And I love story-driven stuff. I love talking about experiences. I like sharing stories and telling people about things that I did, like observational stuff. That interests me. And when I started this podcast, I was like, oh, cool, I'll sit down and, this will be a place where I can just sort of share these experiences and these stories. And fuck, before I knew it, I straight into gear bullshit again. Like, it did it again. How I ended up talking about all that, I have no fucking clue whatsoever. But that's what I ended up doing. And then I started looking at it going like, I don't really know what makes sense here or not. And I've got my own Dylan Osborne, Instagram and YouTube and whatever. And then I've got the Shoveit stuff as well. So then I started falling into the trap, like, well, what do I post on Shoveit? What do I post on Dylan Osborne? Does this podcast go on Dylan Osborne or Shoveit? Because I was like, well, if someone watches it, I'd like to push them to my own channel, because that's the passion piece. But the podcast should actually exist on this channel where you're listening now, which is the Shoveit channel. So some of these episodes are on my other YouTube. Or maybe since I've recorded this podcast, I've decided, fuck it, and I've uploaded all the other ones to the channel first. I don't know. Maybe I've done that. That's probably a better idea. But here, you see, we're going around in circles, questioning ourselves, trying to wonder and work out what we're doing here as we're doing it. Thinking out loud, I guess. So, yeah, we're into this position again where I'm sort of trying to work this out. And then I'm looking at what other people are doing, and then I'm like, I get stuck in that cycle of comparison. So the problem with that comparison is it kills my enthusiasm to create the things that I want to create. And it continually confuses me, thinking, should I do this? And then if I want to put something out, there's always somebody with an opinion. And that's the hard thing with all this, because so much of social media is supposed to be social. But also there's far too many people giving opinions on stuff and sharing opinions. And everyone's always feeling like they need to share their thoughts, give their 2 cents, give value in a comment, give value in a video, give value in a response. Sometimes we all just need to shut the fuck up and just create what we want to create, watch what we want to watch. We don't always, this constant dialogue that we feel like needs to always be happening. I don't think it always needs to happen. I think there's elements of our life that can just be passive consumption. I would like this podcast to be passive in 2 ways. In the way that I create, I'd like to be able to just sit down, hit record and talk like we're doing right now. But this is the fucking 5th time I've attempted to do this. And I recorded a podcast a few weeks back and then just gave up halfway through it, because again, the gears and cogs in my head were confusing themselves. And I'd like people to passively listen to this in a way that, they can just, it kills a bit of time while they're driving or working, some sort of noise in the background for them to listen to. Maybe you get something from it, maybe you don't. I'd like these to be a little bit more story driven in the future. I'd like to talk about projects that I'm working on, things that I've learned in the projects, and stories that happened on that. There's a few big things I'm sort of trying to, bring to fruition next year. And I'd like to talk about those things. And some of those people that I meet and get involved with, I'd like to involve them in this and talk to them about that stuff and chat to different people that inspire me on all sorts of different spheres. It doesn't have to be like a strictly creative photography person. It could be somebody running their own business, you're running a sports brand or whatever the fuck it is. I just wanted to talk to people and have a conversational podcast here that's loosely based in the idea of the creative world. So, I set out to do this on this podcast and immediately lost track of what I was doing. And the problem was then I was like, got stuck questioning myself and criticizing what I was making. And then once I started doing that, it stopped the progress. And you see, as soon as the progress stopped, to get it up and going again felt like too big of a project. It felt too hard to get that going. And then during the week here, I went out and shot a video from my own YouTube channel talking about this progression, this like me feeding off it. The video is fucking dog dirt. It's absolute dog dirt. Like, I went and rode a skate park and then went for a walk and took some photos. I don't even know if it's going to go on my YouTube or not. I have no idea. Also, like an idiot, I pulled my old vlog camera out of my bag, didn't even check it, just fucking turned it on and started recording. And I swear to God, I feel like every moth in the fucking country climbed through the seals in it and lived under on the sensor. The amount of shit that was on the sensor, dirt and bugs and stuff and smudges all over the bloody sensor. I was like, oh my God, I looked back at the video and I was like, this is utter shit. But I finished it, edited it. I don't know if I posted it yet. Maybe I have, maybe I haven't. But it was total crap. So I thought, well, that's actually maybe the perfect topic to just sit and talk about on this podcast. You know, progression, that sort of thing. Because I definitely do feed off it, and I feel like the constantly creating keeps me creating. The problem with that is that the measurement for success feels like it's more about the progression of posting rather than making. And I look back at like my albums of videos and photos that I've created over the last few years, and there's loads of videos that have never found their way to the internet, like loads of stories and family stuff as well. But then there's also like vlogs and, you know, silly little quips and skits and stuff that I've recorded for vertically for the socials that I haven't posted anywhere either, because I like creating them, and I enjoy sharing and I enjoy posting these things. But the progress of making, it's that journey of creating stuff that keeps me enthusiastic, keeps me inspired, because that's when I start to try things. That's when I start to explore ideas or try a new technique or learn something new. And I feel like the more that I question myself and the more that I compare what I'm doing to what other people are doing, the more I stop. The more I stop, the less I do. Not the more I stop, the less I do. And the less I do, the less I progress. The less I progress, the less fucked I can be making the next video. And thus the cycle continues. And it's just a downward spiral. And all it does is kill your enthusiasm. And all it does is steal the joy. You know? Comparison is a thief of joy. That's sort of where my brain's been thinking. So I have so many different things that I'm working on, and they're all sort of half-assed at the moment. But I want to try my hardest. There is no, what does old fucking Yoda say? There is no try. There is only do or don't. Is that it? Something like that. You know, we'll do. We'll keep uploading these. One thing that does trip me up with this is always whether it should be a video podcast, whether it should just be an audio podcast. I feel like if it was just an audio podcast, we could smash these things out almost daily. You just be brain dumps. But I quite like the process of making them. They're quite fun to shoot. Quite like doing it. So look, that's kind of where I'm at. Let me know what you think about that. Do you get stuck in this world of comparison? Where do you think you sit in the progress of it? I don't feel like I sit in the camera tech, camera nerd thing. That's so insulting. The camera world like that. I don't feel like I'm in that world. I feel like what I want to do and what I want to make is more about stories. It's more about creative ideas and but mostly story. You know what makes me happy? I love sitting down, telling somebody a story and just watching them just go on that journey. Maybe they smile. Maybe we cry together, you know? Maybe not the crying bit, but I like telling somebody a story and seeing them smile or inspire somebody in that way. And because of what I do, there's a lot of the professional creative world involved in it, but it's all the stories of other things I do, the random bits and pieces that I do throughout the day, all the activities that I enjoy doing, things like surfing and cycling and one-wheeling and going for a run, playing the game of squash and making beer, all those things that allow me to travel and visit and do stuff. So I'm in this hybrid world in my own channel where I don't know, and I'm trying to suss out whether it's vloggy stuff, you know, but like what? And stories and bits and pieces like that. But I think from my perspective, it's going to be more about me and my stories and things that I do. Whereas the Shoveit channel, I want more to be about my creative endeavors, my projects, my purely purely creative based stuff, talking about things that I'm working on, people that I meet along the way that are in some way inspiring to me or interesting, or things I find that other people might find interesting. So that's the general goal of that. I also do a collaborative podcast with my buddy Ryan Say, where the two of us overthink and question everything we do. And then when we eventually get the enthusiasm to sit down and record, one of us fucks it up from a technical point of view. So if that sounds like your kettle of fish, go check the Over and Out show out. But this, for the time being, keep it cool, keep it casual. That's the oldest man thing I've said in ages. Look, thanks for listening to this. Hope you enjoyed it. I hope you get something from it in some way. Maybe it entertained you while you were driving. That's what I like podcasts to do. Entertain me while I drive for fucking hours to go somewhere, right? Look, thanks again. I'll catch you in the next episode. Subscribe to this channel if you're interested in this stuff. This is the Shoveit channel. Subscribe to this. Check out the Shoveit Instagram. And I'll catch you in the next episode.
Yeah, you better. Yeah, you better.
Fucking everything looks like it went to plan. The camera's still recording. The fucking Adobe Audition's still. The light hasn't gone off. The building hasn't burnt down. What will go wrong? Hey, one in the bag, folks.